Thanks for tuning in and welcome to the June 3rd, 2019 edition of IMRU Radio Magazine. I'm Abby Dees.
And I'm Wenzel Jones.
Tonight, Vash Bodhi debuts another red carpet interview from the recent Tribeca Film Festival in New York City. But first, the honest tea.
Well, they're up to it again.
I feel like we should call this segment Groundhog Day discussion.
I know.
I think we sort of agreed this week that maybe this part of the segment should just be called Trump is an a-hole.
Well, just keeping tabs on these stories and not giving myself the luxury of ignoring them is beginning to really wear on me because I'm so in touch with just how much is going on against our community.
We so wanted this to be the sparkle and excitement segment.
I know.
But it's not working out like that. However, we are determined
Yes.
that we are not going to leave this segment without a little sparkle and excitement.
No, there's
and
always
zhuzh.
some sparkle because it's gay.
But
But
we have to start with the Trump is an a-hole regular segment. And I know that's very fine journalistic parlance.
I know.
This one, though, I don't know, they all sort of take the cake as you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, the title alone.
The Commission on Inalienable Rights. The State Department announced a new advisory panel to stress human rights in the context of, quote, natural law.
And that's where we go off the rail.
The notice that was released this week says this commission that will be started to advise the Secretary of State on human rights issues in the context of, quote, natural law will provide fresh thinking about human rights discourse where such discourse has departed from our nation's founding principles of natural law and natural rights. Okay.
Because natural law is where your ears go up because that is one of the darlings, that whole concept of the religious right.
This is code. And this is also their...
And not very subtle code.
It's not very subtle code. They're not talking scientific law. When I think
No.
natural law, because it makes sense. Let's just sort of do a little U.S. history here. A lot of our founding fathers were either deists or influenced by deist thinking, which used this term natural law. And it was very much an Enlightenment age way of thinking that was actually challenging conservative Christian thinking. It really was that there is a God. That was what they believed. But pretty much you are given a rational mind to understand the world. And that was what natural law in that context meant. In other words, scientific inquiry was sort of part of this. This is not what these folks mean.
We've gotten way far away from that now.
Yeah. I mean, this is like natural as in God created man, woman, oceans, and sky. That's nature. Natural law ends where science begins in this concept. It's total code for we don't want to recognize LGBTQ rights. We don't want to recognize that boys might be girls and girls might be boys and boys might want to marry each other and girls might want to marry nothing.
Yeah, the whole thing is, once again, this is what Sharia law is.
This is a religious viewpoint. This is not, quote, natural law. This is the opposite that they're talking about.
Right, turning it over to Christian fundamentalists, evangelical Christian fundamentalists, and having them decide what is and is not natural. That is not lawmaking. That is theocracy.
But they have really flipped the script on this because they are using these terms that had a meaning that was very different. But because they can tangentially make them related to the founding fathers and original ideas of this country, they can sort of give it that gloss. They get away with this.
Well, it's like that kerfuffle a few years back about teaching intelligent design in school. And on the face of it, the two words intelligent design, you think, well, what's wrong with that?
Teach the debate.
Exactly. And then you go into it and you realize, no, this is not science or teaching, or this is just brainwashing.
I mean, just to put this in context, natural law is a word that's been used to fight LGBTQ rights in all sorts of forms, like Focus on the Family uses that term. For example, Cardinal Francis George of the Catholic Church in Chicago said that natural law was the basis that the church used to oppose LGBTQ rights. And they have a quote here. "It's not in our doctrine. It's not a matter of faith. It's a matter of reason and understanding the way nature operates." Until nature and science say otherwise.
Who's nature? Let's go back to the gay penguins at the zoo, shall we?
Reason, yeah. What's very interesting to me about this, too, is that there are already well-established principles about human rights. The UN was established about this. The U.S. has, until very recently, been one of the movers and shakers in defining human rights and what we mean by this. This is absolutely a way to limit human rights. We don't need this.
Remember those days when the United States was a leader
Yeah. Well, we're leading the way going
To the
backwards now.
bottom.
Yeah. So very interesting that the former Assistant Secretary of State for Human Rights under W said that he doesn't know what the point of this commission is. So that was
Oh,
like
yeah.
W's. And then the former Assistant Secretary of State for Human Rights under Obama said he was very sure that the point of this was not to expand human rights. Yeah. They're trying to get us. All right. So moving on in the Trump is an a-hole. And
Adoption, another evergreen topic around here at Honesty.
right. So
Once again, they're trying to repeal an Obama-era policy about allowing same-sex adoption.
under Obama, discrimination against LGBTQI people in adoption and foster care was made officially illegal.
And while it's officially illegal, I'll bet it still went on.
Yeah, I'm sure it went on because
Anyway.
it was policy.
Yeah.
And of course, we have no federal protections like that. That's another story. The new policies being floated will allow, of course, our favorite topic, a religious exemption, a big, broad band religious exemption. They're either going to just withdraw the Obama policy of anti-discrimination, or they are going to just modify it, quote unquote, modify it with a religious exemption, which, as we have discussed ad nauseum, is the way that you completely subvert the rule to begin with. So they're probably going that way because they think it will survive a court challenge better. And they've been very explicit about that.
And it seems if you want to find homes to children, closing homes is not the best way to go about it.
This is, again, not pro-life.
No,
And
not
then,
pro-children.
believe it or not, Chick-fil-A and Trump do go together.
Hand in hand.
And we're talking Chick-fil-A again.
Can't get
Groundhog
enough
Day.
of that Chick-fil-A. So I guess the government, because Chick-fil-A was shut out of the San Antonio International
And the
Airport.
Buffalo, New York airport.
Buffalo, Niagara, too, also said no Chick-fil-A. So the federal government is going to probe the situation
They're very concerned.
because this is where we put our focus. Yeah, because Chick-fil-A is noted for contributing to anti-LGBTQ causes in the millions of dollars. A little while ago, we reported that they had actually tried to mend their ways, but not very
They've
effectively.
actually backpedaled very
Yeah.
quickly in the last couple of months,
Very
which we
quickly.
first talked to this. They're like, nope, we stand
Yeah.
for what we stand for. They were denied a contract at the concessions of these two airports. So the State Department is looking into this. The Justice Department, is looking into this. Okay. I have to say, from a legal standpoint, I do think just the little bit that we've seen about this, there is potentially a First Amendment problem with these denials of these contracts, because who you give money to is theoretically your free speech right, no matter how disgusting and awful it is.
But
You
by
have the right
allowing
to
them
do
in,
that.
though, don't you make the airport management complicit in your discrimination?
Well, I think that's probably one of the arguments in response to that. But I mean, there is a issue here. But the U.S. government does not need to be wading in here and taking a side on this. That is more problematic to me. If Chick-fil-A wanted to bring a First Amendment lawsuit, they could.
Right.
They have the right. They always had the right. The difference is they can give money, again, this is my theory,
Right.
not knowing all the specifics of this case, to whoever they want, as long as they are not discriminating in their employment practices or violating local ordinances or codes or, local anti-discrimination laws.
Right, and they're very big on coming out with statements about Chick-fil-A does not discriminate
don't
against anybody.
discriminate.
And of course, they don't discriminate if you want to buy their product. And
No.
they don't discriminate in theory if you want to work there. But when they turn around and give their profits to anti-LGBTQ groups, you cannot help but think that is discrimination. You can call it free speech, but it is discrimination.
It's an interesting, I would say it's a legal gray area.
Yeah.
That they may actually have a case, depending on
Yeah.
what the real specifics are here, that they were denied a contract based on the exercise of their free speech rights. Again, though, I am very concerned that the U.S. government is just wandering over to Texas to protect the honor of Chick-fil-A. And no.
Although I would think getting away from where they spend their profits, just on the basis of the fact, and this is another part of their ostentatious piety, they're closed on Sunday. So the Chick-fil-A employees can spend time with their families. And I would think that alone,
Could
being closed
deny
on
them.
a Sunday in an airport, that is a huge chunk of revenue that they are consciously
Well, see, now that's another
removing from the
interesting,
table.
like law school sample question, because then they could say, oh, well, we are being discriminated against based on our religious beliefs. They might actually have a claim
Yeah.
for that. But that's where you realize that rights and responsibilities are complicated little beasts. I always have a saying, civil rights are a bitch.
Yeah.
As well they should be, because it's never clean and tidy. No one's rights are absolute. They always crash into each other. The way that we hear about these things in no way takes into account the fact that civil rights are complicated.
Right.
They're complicated.
If you're there to generate revenue and you take a seventh of the week out of commission, I mean, if there were a restaurant that closed down 5 times a day for Muslim prayer,
Yeah.
oh, the hue and cry we'd be hearing.
Yes. Well, that's a really interesting argument. But just look at this, because they have their religious freedom rights, because people do in this country. We do have religious freedom rights. We don't need extra laws around this, folks.
No.
Anyway, we already do have them. They're in the First Amendment. You can look it up. But they could make that claim, well, you're denying us a contract based on our very sincerely held core religious principles. But you could also really understand exactly what you were just saying. The person offering the concession can say, we weren't trying to discriminate against anybody. We just need to make this thing pencil out. And those are the kinds of things that end up in front of the Supreme Court. Those are the real religious freedom issues. It's not this kind of fear-mongering that the right is up to. That's really how that plays out, is in a court.
Next up, it's in a way, it's sort of good news in that somebody else has an even crazier president than we do.
Yes, and we're still putting this under the Trump is an a-hole banner because it's Trump adjacent, and I think this is one of Trump's besties.
Cheek by jowl. Well, he's besties with the worsties.
I love that. We're talking about Rodrigo Duterte,
the president of the Philippines.
This is a funny little spin, and I will just love it if Trump tries to do something like this. But this is a head scratcher.
Really, please tweet, please tweet.
Oh, please tweet. He said that he used to be gay.
And this isn't the first time he said it.
No, but that he's been cured. And then when he met his wife, who he is now
divorced from.
Or annulled. It was annulled because he had extracurricular marital.
And they were only married for 2 years.
When he met his wife, it made him a real man, and he was no longer gay. So, okay, what's fascinating about this is that he's notoriously homophobic.
Oh, yeah.
But he sort of flirts with this, like, but I'm a gay, so I get to kind of be gay when I want to and not when I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm a reformed gay, so I have the right to discriminate against gays because I know that you can change.
And then he accuses people left and right of being gay. He said very recently that a Philippine senator, one of his main critics, was gay. And he backed this up because you can tell by how he moves. And if you're gay, you can really identify how he moves and tell that he's gay because I'm a gay or I was a gay. And so I know how the gays move.
Gay movements.
But I cured myself. And he says, yeah, you can't get mad at me because I'm a gay.
It's like Brazil.
Oh,
who
Bolsonaro.
votes for these people?
I know. Let's see if Bolsonaro comes out as an ex-gay, too. This might be the newest thing in horrific despot homophobes.
Ex-gay dictators.
He even joked that taking selfies with men might make you gay.
Oh, right.
Oh, would turn him gay again. Might actually flip him.
If somebody with a mustache smooches you, that skin contact will turn you.
He even called the U.S. ambassador to the Philippines gay and a son of a whore. I think we can say that on air.
It seems like people who are so anxious about gay people almost focus on nothing else.
I know. This is really a new one. Is like, not only am I obsessed with it, I actually am an ex-gay. So, very strange.
There's our ray of sunshine. There's somebody worse than
our president. But I want to know, would Trump do this? And will Trump take selfies with him?
You know, I would believe that man would do anything because everything that comes out of the White House is so
insane and upside down.
And crazy. It's like, sure, why not? Trump announcing one day, I used to be gay, but I've cured myself. I can imagine that happening.
So, again, we're doing good news here.
Yeah, here it is.
We have to do our good news here, and it's a little thing, but it does give me hope. And that is a church in Oregon, a Church of Christ in particular in Oregon.
Clackamas United Church of Christ.
And I think Church of Christ is not the most liberal group of people. I know there are various
I don't know anything about
subgroups.
There are so many sects when you get to Protestantism.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't quote me on anything.
Yeah.
But in any case, a Church of Christ church in Oregon is getting a ton of attention, and their congregation size is growing by leaps and bounds because of the positive, progressive, and inclusive messages they've been putting on their billboards. And, you drive around and you see churches like,
All
I
the
was
time.
in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and there's a huge sign that says, "Sin, it's nothing to be proud of." So, it's usually messages like that. This pastor, Adam Ericksen, is the new pastor for Clackamas United Church of Christ in actually Milwaukie, Oregon. I don't know where Milwaukie, Oregon is.
I looked it up.
Oh, you did? Where is it?
It's just outside of Portland.
Oh, okay.
And fun fact, do you know who's from Clackamas County? Tanya Harding.
Oh, I have some more fun facts about that. My family used to own the ice skating rink that she trained on.
The one at the shopping mall?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my, okay. We've got so much to talk about after this.
I know. I can't believe I put that on the air. Anyway, so Pastor Adam Ericksen took over the church last year, and he decided that the best way to build the congregation was to be really open about their politics.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, people are thirsty to know they are loved. In every area, there are pockets thirsting for this message of radical inclusion. And so it's really making me think, especially in light of the Methodist Church controversy that we reported on a few months ago about how they are really going through a growing period where most Methodists are demanding inclusion.
Right. And it might split the church.
It might split the church.
Because we need another Christian sect.
We do need Christians speaking up.
Right.
Because most Christians, I believe, really do believe the "what would Jesus do" stuff, which, I don't know, the bit I know about Jesus is he probably wouldn't be all judgy and hostile and homophobic.
Well, and this man is very good about his signs, because when I see the ones like you saw in Gatlinburg, I always feel there is a central Christian sign generator, because they're clever, but they're not too clever. But that the pastor probably did not make that up. So this guy is making them all up.
This guy knows his signs.
He does.
He knows his church signs.
Because you research, I bet you got some of the examples.
I've got some of them here. Funny that. And you can look up the Clackamas United Church of Christ on Facebook and see the signs.
Oh,
and I mean, he's got tons of them. Our transgender siblings have heartbeats. That is a reference to the heartbeat bills that we talked about recently. LGBTQ welcome here. Duh. I love this one. Just love people. I will sort it out later. Signed, God. National emergency. 7,100 hate crimes in 2017. No joke.
Nope.
Welcome immigrants, but only if they speak English. Said Jesus never. Jesus believed in universal health care. So do we. And I loved this one. Harriet Tubman deserves to be on the $20 bill. End white supremacy. I guess they've gotten tons of support and actually not a lot of criticism. Now they are outside of Portland, but Oregon is not just a green granola state. My sister lives in Eastern Oregon. It's very, very conservative. Yeah. But I just really like that this guy is sort of hitting this one head on. He said for him, Christianity is fundamentally political, as it is for so many right-wing conservative Christians. As long as you're not endorsing a particular candidate, that is also completely legal in our tax code.
And he gets a picture of himself by the news sign every week. He totally owns it. He's not pretending that somebody else is behind it, which is so nice.
No, it's like little selfies of him with his new sign and his new cute little slogan.
Yeah.
I love this stuff. Okay, so a last somewhat surreal bit of news.
This falls into the bless their heart category.
That is actually what I wrote on my notes too.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I stole it from you.
No, you and I were thinking the same way.
But it is. It's Listerine has come out with a Pride bottle.
So this is another segment I think we need to work on, is the newest intersection of pride and capitalism every week.
It used to be that there was so little of it that anytime you saw a Pride-themed product, you go, oh, yay. But now there's maybe a little bit too much.
This is just standard Listerine. Yeah. So, you don't pay extra for the Pride.
No.
But they got a few things wrong. They wrapped the bottle in actually the original 8-stripe rainbow flag, although, as we know from Fairy Argyle Rainbow, one of the lead people, there's some controversy about the history of the stripes.
Yeah, there were actually 7 stripes on the bottle, so I don't know where the 8 came from, because that was in the article, too.
They tried.
Yeah.
They tried, and then they added the meanings of the colors, which actually were not in the original flag, but a few years later, Gilbert Baker ascribed some meanings to them. But they got those wrong. So they left off the meaning of pink for one, and that one is sex. So they didn't put sex on the Listerine bottle. And they also got turquoise wrong, because I guess it originally represented magic, because that was the 70s. But they wrote peace. So the earnestness of this got absolutely excoriated online, but in such a fun way. So one person posted under a picture of dozens of Pride-themed body care products. They said, "At last I can wash my gay hair and rinse my gay mouth while feeling truly seen." This was a American Horror Story reference. "Only the gay who has mastered all 7 of these Listerine spirits shall be our next supreme." Or
Well, and the font they chose.
Oh,
The font is like something
the
you would
font was
find.
the worst problem of all.
Yeah, on some sort of inspirational note card.
Someone called it the Live, Laugh, Love font.
Yeah.
And then someone else said, "This isn't for gays, it's for P-flag moms."
And it is a
It
very
really
mom
looks like
font.
that. It's a mom font.
If you saw it on a birthday card that says "You're the best mother ever," it's that font.
It's right next to Comic Sans.
Yeah.
You bless their hearts, Listerine.
Yeah,
But I'll tell you, you get it wrong. We appreciate the effort, but boy,
We do.
you get it wrong. Our community is not short of quips.
No, we're a quippy tribe.
That is our defense. That is our pride, in fact.
And that concludes this week's Honest Tea.
No quips?
I got no quips.